Hello, everyone. This is Joe Fosco with American News Post. We're doing our sports piece. Today is June the 20th, Thursday. I'm with Mr. Michael Magnafichi.
Hello, everybody. Mike Maggs here.
And Mr. Frank Coconate.
How's everybody doing?
I'm doing okay, Frank. I'm doing better now than I was about 10:30 last night. 10:30 last night. It looked glim, you know.
Yeah.
But
Do you guys want to start with hockey then?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I had mentioned before that I thought that the speed of the Hawks would sooner or later, get the Bruins. But the Bruins are such big guys,
They use their body like.
Yeah, they go at them, and the Hawks.
That game last night, the Hawks started out with their typical, speed, their agility,
Right.
their talent was, taken over, and then got those 2 goals quick,
Right.
and then Boston started with their.
They came back with their
body
bruising stuff, hitting.
I mean, but the refs let them get away with a lot.
They
of
did.
stuff.
You know
a lot
what?
Of stuff.
They gave a lot of leeway
Right.
in that game.
Right.
For Boston, and that's
Well, you're in Boston, I guess.
That's home. That's home ice advantage.
Right,
That's
right.
home court advantage.
But what they were doing to that
basketball.
poor Shaw kid, I think it's Brian Shaw.
Brian Shaw.
They beat the crap out of him. Every time he touched
Knocked
the
the hell
puck,
out
they
of
were
him.
just beating the crap, and he'd bounce back up. He'd go at him, and
Frank, I never saw a game. I mean, you know what? As a fan of the Hawks and wanting the Hawks to win, it was a torturous game for me. Because, I like to see a 4-0 shutout. You know what I mean? And the Hawks just dominating.
right.
But when you go into a game like, if you're as a pure fan, this was a great game.
Yeah,
to watch.
right. I mean, it's
And the Bruins, Joe, they just kept coming back. And you know what? They're so big and defensive. And they just hit harder than, it doesn't seem that the Hawks are doing anything.
Right,
And
exactly.
the Hawks haven't done anything on power plays.
Right.
They haven't done anything.
Right.
And that's a big deal, in hockey. Power plays are when you score your goals. You got 5-on-4, that's when you do it.
Right.
And it doesn't seem like the Hawks have been able to accomplish that, but
If you look at the coaching, you watch that Pierre something. I forgot their coach of the Boston. Pierre.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have to look it up myself, but I think it's Pierre Thomas.
Okay.
I think, and the coach of the Quinville, Pierre Thomas is to me looks like a great coach. The way he pulls these guys in, he
He
sees
sends in
they're not
that line. He's not afraid to put that line in right away, Joe.
just to start
He
hitting.
he puts in right away.
Sure.
He doesn't give a crap.
He's got a feel of his players, and Boston. I would love to like them. You know what I mean?
Right.
But after I see some of their cheap ass hits,
And they're not getting called for him.
yeah,
They're
nothing.
not getting called for him.
They're hitting.
No, they're
You see the hit on Sharpie,
Oh, that was
legal.
unbelievable.
Yeah, it's legal.
It's
but
legal,
What,
yeah.
what are you trying to kill a guy?
right.
I mean, but Sharp, I give him
You know
credit.
what he realizes about hockey, and they always equate to football. Mike Ditka said that football, they say, well, it's a collision sport.
Right, contact.
Contact sport. He says, no, it's not a contact sport. He says it's a collision sport. He says, picture yourself running at full speed at the height of when you could run as fast
Right.
as you can, and blindfolded and you run into a tree.
Right.
He says that's what's getting hit every day on the football field.
Right.
Hockey players are going equally as fast,
Right.
that everybody
Hitting each
on
other.
ice. It's a stone cold. I mean, it's a dangerous sport.
It's-
I mean, these guys, they never have teeth.
Teeth, they're beat
They're beat up. I played golf with Dennis Savard.
Right.
He's from Oak Brook.
He was a great hockey
Great
player.
hockey player.
I mean,
And this poor guy, to go through a round of golf, guys, he couldn't get through it.
Yeah.
He'd be like all limped up, and just playing golf, riding in the cart.
You probably met Mona, too, his wife.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mona Savard, yeah.
When her and the girls would bum over at the,
Tuscany.
that in the clubhouse.
The clubhouse,
Yeah.
yes.
All right.
What was the clubhouse over there?
In Oak Brook.
Right.
Yes.
The clubhouse was a nothing.
Right.
It was a
yeah.
clubhouse, right? Or was
Well,
it?
it was a fancy restaurant, and what they had there was they had golf shirts.
Right.
They had all kind of sports memorabilia
Right,
there.
souvenirs or whatever, yeah.
They had all that for you. So when you walked in, you saw that right away. And Oak Brook, it's money. heaven over there. So they go in there and they say, $80 shirt. Give me 5 of those and 3 of those. You know, like Rodney Dangerfield and Caddy, 2 of those. Oh, give me those naked lady golf tees. Let me do this. Let me do that. You know, give me the whole boat and then give me a martini at the bar.
What golf course was this? In Oak Brook?
No, it wasn't a golf course. It was
the
in the
clubhouse.
mall.
It's a restaurant.
It's a restaurant.
Yeah, it's sort of old
It's right in the mall.
now.
It's right by Neiman Marcus in the mall.
Is it still there?
I think it is. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's changed hands 4 times, I think. In
They haven't
ownership.
had success with it.
No, it was awful.
Because the theme of it was...
The old bartenders were great.
Yeah.
$20 gratuity, and you could drink whatever you want all day and night, but they don't do that there anymore.
Well,
yeah, they kind of shut that down. $20 now is what you get for one drink.
Right.
Yeah, I go there and say,
well,
can I
back
have
to the
a light
Hawks.
beer? And it's $14.80.
Back to the Hawks. One of the best games I've seen in years. They're going back and forth, 3-1, or 2-1, 2-2 I think it was, 3-2, 4-2, 4-4.
Then
5-4,
then they got
5-5.
Right.
I mean, Boston wasn't going to drop.
Boston
Was going to lay down.
Boston didn't give up. They
then for that last goal to win it was just surprising to me with Seabrook.
Seabrook, he clipped it in. What's his name hit the shot? Taze hit the shot. He clipped it in. Seabrook did.
Yeah.
Which that is something that hasn't been like in hockey for years. Remember before it was always one-on-one breaks.
Right.
You didn't see deflection goals. Remember?
Only with Phil Esposito. That's the only one. Phil Esposito.
Phil Esposito.
They call him the garbage
Tony's brother,
man. The garbage man.
72 goals in 1 year.
Yeah. He had the record.
He had the record for quite a long time.
Exactly right. Yeah. Exactly right. But anyway, we come back to Chicago. The series is tied 2-2 now.
Right.
And now anything can happen. It looks like the Hawks are in good shape.
I like the Hawks right now. I mean, I was, obviously, at 2-1 Boston at home.
Yeah.
If it goes 3-1, I'm like, there's no way the Hawks.
There's only 2 games.
But right now, Joe, at 2-2, Hawks at home, I got to believe that, at the United Center, they're going to be crazy nuts. They're going to get the team up. They're going to be doing something that's going to get this game going, and I think the Hawks win this game, and I think they'll go on to win.
It motivates the
I think it'll be a 7-game series. I believe that the Hawks will win it in 7.
Yeah.
I don't see Boston giving up to them. I don't see that. This game here is pivotal. The Hawks lose this game here, then I change my
Yeah, right. Change
it's like I'm so wishy-washy on who, because I'm such a fan. I want the Hawks to win.
Frank, do you agree with Michael on that, or do you have your own thoughts?
I still think Boston's going to do it too.
Do you really?
I just think.
Last night kind of switched me around.
Because
Frank.
Boston could play well away. They
play
well away.
That's true.
And all they have to do is win one of the 2 at the Hawks, which would make it a 3-3 going into Boston for the last.
That's correct. That is correct.
But they have to win one of them, actually.
Right.
Win one of them. The Hawks got to win the 2 at home to win the Stanley Cup. I'm a Hawk fan, but it's...
right, no, you got to call
it. I
it.
bet with my heart,
right.
I'll go with the Hawks. But if I bet with just the coaching, the players, Boston's just a tough team.
It's a bruising thing.
When you watch them attack the net, I've never seen a team.
They swarm it.
And they almost push the whole goalie, everybody right through the board.
Right.
You watch the Hawks, they can't get the Hawks.
It's unbelievable.
Get in front of their net.
No.
They get in front of their net, they annihilate them. Annihilate the Boston.
Exactly.
Boston comes down on offense, they're on top of the goalie.
Right.
They're just unbelievable. So.
Well, we'll see what happens.
I still think Boston's going to play. I want the Hawks to win, but I still think Boston's going to pull it out.
I'm going to go with the Hawks. My opinion is I think that after this game here, I was Boston.
Right.
Remember, I was with you. I was with Boston. Wishy-washy.
Are you predicting with your heart or with your...
More my heart, I would say.
Yeah.
I would say more my heart. Because obviously, I'm a Chicago guy, who doesn't want the Hawks to
So
win.
is that a subtle admission that you don't think they'll win?
Kind of, yeah. I'm leaving myself a parachute here, okay? I'm giving myself a parachute because, you know what, I want to bail.
Well, you better hold on to that parachute.
Yeah,
now we're going to go into basketball now, where you said San Antonio was going to win.
Well, I was wrong.
But wait.
San Antonio did cover the spread, though.
Right, they did cover the string. No,
So, I mean, if anybody was listening and anybody wanted to hear
everybody,
what I said, I like San Antonio.
They made money on
They made money on my prediction.
Most people were watching that game. The other, what was it? Yes, no, the day
Last
before.
night.
No, San Antonio was on the day before.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And San Antonio, it was could have won it all.
They had it 5 points up with 28 seconds to go.
Right.
And they make a couple of stupid turnovers. Couldn't make a free throw.
I watched it.
I mean, they were pulling the trophy out. Did you know that, Joe?
Right.
They were pulling the trophy out.
Yeah.
For Santa. They pulled the trophy out. And the Miami guys, they're looking at it. What the heck is going on here?
Probably motivated, but San Antonio blew so many
Now,
shots.
the thing I want to ask you is, do you think that San Antonio, is this, I mean, being that they are a 4-time champion, you got a coach, you got Tim Duncan, they've been together for 16 years. That's the longest relationship with any coach and player in all of sports history. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
No, that's the longest relationship that they have. It's a love affair, basically.
Right.
They have that going on. Do you think that I guess when he came back on the bus, he excused everybody but the players off the bus, and he wanted to just talk to the players.
And who's that now?
Coach Pop.
Coach Popovich.
Yeah, and he got everybody off the bus, and nobody knows what he said. Nobody, but he didn't want any of the assistant coaches. He didn't want anybody, just him and the team, and that was it. And he just sat him on the bus, I guess, for like 15 minutes.
Is this after the game? Or?
After the game, yeah. He didn't want anything
to leak out.
Yeah, he didn't want anything getting out, and he wanted to have his own way. And he's a great coach, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, Phil Jackson's a great coach, you know. But look who Phil Jackson had.
He had all players.
You got Shaquille and you know, he had Jordan.
He had Jordan, Pippen. He had
Kobe. You know, and
Kobe,
he got all these guys.
It's
kind of hard, you know. You and I could coach that team. You know, let me play hard. Just do your thing.
I don't know about that.
No, you basically could. When you got that kind of talent, Joe, you basically could. The guy that was a good coach that the Bulls never. It was Doug Collins.
Yeah,
he was unbelievable. I love that guy, and he's never gotten a fair shake.
No.
He likes doing his TNT analyst stuff, and that's fine. Hey, listen, you know what? He sits there and he does what we do. You know, he'd rather talk about it than have to answer about it.
But this game was, to me, it showed a lot more than just San Antonio choking at the end, and it showed how immature LeBron James is for being one of the greatest athletes in today's, basketball. He showed me no class. He showed me he's nowhere near what Michael Jordan was.
I don't ever want to hear. You know what? You could never. I don't care if he could do what the Yankees have done. They've bought teams,
right?
Which is okay. Steinbrenner, I love Steinbrenner. I think he's one of the greatest owners of all time.
Right.
Hey, you got the money to do it? You do it.
Right.
Why wouldn't you buy the best?
Right.
Why wouldn't you get the best plan for you if you could do it? Why would you buy second-rate stuff and try to make it happen?
Right.
And Steinbrenner, he was the owner of teams that were they were unstoppable.
Right.
You couldn't beat them. And Phil Jackson had that, he was comfortable with that. Doug Collins was the one that formed the Bulls. He went through the Detroit years when they couldn't get past Detroit. You remember? And then you remember when they finally, I was at that game actually, when they finally got past Detroit, they walked off the court.
Right, I remember that.
Isaiah Thomas, with 8 seconds left to go in the game, Joe, they walked off the court.
LeBron James reminds me of that Isaiah Thomas. That kind of cocky and no class, and Isaiah Thomas was a super athlete. He was a super ball player, but he was a baby. He was like a baby. That whole team was, and that's what LeBron.
Joe Dumars was the class of that team. He was. He's still there. He's the GM of the organization.
He was very good. But I'm talking about as a person that everybody looks up to and sees.
He didn't have it.
And then LeBron with it, crying over every call, crying over. He went up for a shot I watched that Jordan would have made. There's no doubt in my mind. It was near the end of the overtime.
Right.
Or regulation.
Regulation, right.
He's ready to go up, and that Green blocked the shot.
Blocked the shot on him.
And he put on this whole act like he's crying,
and Jordan would never do that.
No, and it was
Jordan, he retreats back to defense.
Well, Jordan would have scored.
He would have scored, obviously, but even if he did, he retreats back to defense.
Miami was lucky to win that. Now I think Miami's going to win it all. I mean, but
I'm going to go on the hook here. You like Miami. I'm going to go. I think Coach Pa's going to, do something with these guys. He's going to inject them with some kind of confidence that's going to bring them out and make them play very well tonight, that they could do it. Because,
they're in Miami,
I know that.
Yeah.
I knew that, the thing that's why I do agree with you that Miami probably will win is the fact that that game was so close. Coach Pa is one of those guys. Popovich, he's a guy, he raises the white flag. He gets his older
He
players.
is a better coach than
He
the other
pulls
guy.
his players, Joe. He gets them out of there.
What's the other guy's
right
name?
away.
Spolstra?
Spolstra.
Yeah.
And he's a good coach, but he's got the greatest players around him.
Popovich
Come on,
is
you
a
got
way
you
better
got four
coach.
Hall of Famers on the team there. Popovich is a greater coach.
You got a team.
But I think, I definitely would take San Antonio with the points. That they're getting 7 points tonight. The over and under is 189. That I have no opinion about that because it could go into overtime.
Right.
I
hope you're right. I hope you're right on both counts. I hope you're right about the Hawks, and I hope you're right about.
Yeah, I like San Antonio.
San Antonio.
Yeah, I like San Antonio, and I like the Hawks. I think that was a jump start for them, and I think that this was a kick in the butt for San Antonio.
Right.
I think that they'll respond to this. These guys are four-time winners.
So
and
we disagree on both.
Right.
I think the
Bruins.
Bruins and
You like the Bruins
and the Heat.
and you like the Heat. I'm going the other way.
I like the Hawks and I like San Antonio. But
and you know what? We'll probably have a split.
Now to switch gears a little bit, that the shocking death of, you want to touch on it, of James Gandolfini.
Gandolfini.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the Soprano guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Tony,
The
well, that's
boss.
what made him famous.
It was an interesting thing that Jackie Cerrone, who isn't really the third, but we could refer to him as the third, the adopted grandson of the late outfit boss, Jack Cerrone, bear a striking resemblance of that individual.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Especially when Jackie was fat, or fatter.
Right.
No kidding?
Yes.
Well, he did. He probably could pass for him in California. He could probably get him a table.
Well, not now.
Not now, but
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Because he did look like him.
Right.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
he was,
picture
thinning
Jackie
hair.
Cerrone as the old guy with the bald head and.
No, we're talking about
this
the
is
grandson. He's
the
41
grandson.
years old.
Oh, the grandson.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
40. It said the adopted
Yeah.
grandson.
I'm sorry.
No big deal.
Yeah. But that was a shame. About 51 years old.
Yes.
That's my age.
Yes.
And
Well, he had a stroke or something in Italy.
Yeah.
I guess he was blowing up the coke pretty bad. They said he was in several rehabs for.
Is that what you
Really?
read?
Oh yeah. I didn't know that about him.
Where did you read this?
I saw it on TV.
Oh, I see.
Really?
Yeah, they said that he was in several rehabs.
Well, that's too bad.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
I didn't know.
I mean,
that.
and you never know what. That's something that usually that stuff comes out.
You know what I find interesting? I find it interesting that in sports, I think I'm probably making a stupid distinction here, but in sports, athletes cannot rely on enhancement drugs, steroids or any kind of narcotic or whatever.
PEDs.
Yes, right, steroids. But in acting, it's like a lot of actors perform better when they're high.
Yeah.
In some cases.
Well,
Is that a superficial thing? I mean,
No,
are they
it's not,
really good
because,
actors, or are they just good?
They're just.
Is it acting? Is it?
Well, they're not acting. They're acting like somebody else, and they're just high enough to be able to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Creative
I could be drunk enough to push off that I'm somebody else, and it'll work.
So my question is it a genuine talent? Is their acting ability a genuine talent? Those who are using narcotics while
like
they're
everything else, if they have a staying power, it's talent. I mean.
I see.
Yeah, talent does come into play.
But a guy like Gandolfini, are you sure about that, or you
could look it up. You guys could pull it up on a computer,
because,
and you'll see that he was in several rehabs. He had a cocaine problem.
I'll tell you what,
He was
the
blowing
guy
up.
was
He was smoking the stuff.
He
was.
The guy was. What a role of a lifetime he got with that.
That made him.
And I'll tell you
But
what,
he played in a couple. He was in what was the one with John Travolta?
Get Shorty?
Get Shorty.
Yeah.
He played a great part in there. He was the
Didn't see
stuntman. Oh, it was a great movie.
Really?
And he was the guy that Travolta, he was a stuntman that was working for some black fella.
Yeah.
And he was, like it's supposed to be his bodyguard. And Travolta was the outfit guy from Miami that came out to California. They wanted to get in the movie business.
Right.
And he was out there collecting a debt, a juice loan.
Right, they sent him out
They
there.
sent him out there, and he winds up running into this guy, and he goes, "Hey, you don't know who I am." He says, "I don't have to know." And he hits him in the throat.
But everybody
But he
else,
liked the guy, Travolta did.
Well,
His part did, anyway.
Well, our thoughts and prayers are with his family.
James Gandolfini.
he really touched
Yeah.
a generation of people.
Oh, he was a
And,
hell of a
he'll
guy.
always be
Do you know
remembered
that the
for that
guy
role.
that played Paulie
Yeah, with the gray hair.
with the gray hair? Do you know that he was a legit bookmaker
You're
from the Jersey area, something like that? And he
Oh.
said that he wouldn't take the part. He says if his part took a stool pigeon's role.
I see.
He says, "I won't do that."
If I may interject, I think now is a good time for me to touch on something that I really feel passionate about, and I feel that I have to touch on this. There've been rumors going around after you've taken this sports position, Michael, that you're not a good guy in certain circles that are former circles of yours, circles that glorify with the outfit and things like that. That if you're working with anti-outfit guys like Frank Coconate or Joe Fosco, that you're not a good guy, and I find it disturbing because I know, and unless someone could challenge me with credible evidence to the contrary, that you have not been responsible in any way for causing any kind of an indictment or a conviction to anyone in the outfit or connected to the outfit. It's just not there. What you're doing here, you're talking about sports. Your association with anti-outfit guys like Frank Coconati and me is of course, it would make sense that outfit lapdogs or operatives would not be fond of such position. But, and I'm going to get I'm going to go into a little bit of detail, and I'm going to respect your wishes because I know what your wishes are. You don't want certain names or certain activities brought onto the show, and I'm going to respect that. So I just want you to know that in advance. It's no secret that your father was a high-ranking outfit guy under Jack Cerrone, the late underboss of the outfit. Some would argue he was really possibly even the boss at some point, as Mr. Ricardo, Mr. Ayupa did listen to a lot of his ideas and take his advice. Your father did a lot for that organization, but aside from that organization, he did a lot for certain individuals who are also regarded as businessmen, who own or have owned legitimate businesses, who are legitimately very wealthy people. Some would say, and Frank, I'll put you on the spot here, without going into names, and I would rather you not, would it be accurate for me to say that according to some very reliable and credible sources that you have, it has been said that if it was not for Michael Magnafichi's late father, Lee Magnafichi, that a certain individual who is alive, and we're not going to name him, we'll just call him the 84-year-old man, he would not be who he is today if it were not for Michael's father. Would that be accurate with your sources?
Well, the sources I have that are still in the street and are still left out there said the person we're talking about wouldn't be as powerful without Lee Magnafichi. Lee Magnafichi was the muscle for that whole Northside crew.
So would it be a fair assessment that if it were not for a Lee Magnafichi, that this 84-year-old man would not be what he is, and he probably probably benefited off of his involvement in the outfit to establish the legitimate businesses that he hides behind and masquerades himself off as a legitimate person.
His rise in the last 10 years, I'll say 15 years, the gentleman, the 84-year-old man, is due to the fact of Lee Magnafici's street credibility and his muscle and his relationships out in the street and his reputation.
And does this
the rise of this 84-year-old man would never have happened.
Does this 84-year-old man, does he like you? In your opinion?
What? I don't think he likes me.
Okay, let's leave it at that.
I don't know if he, I don't think he cares about me.
Okay.
I'm not into him. I respect I honestly respect what he's accomplished.
If somebody were to ask this 84-year-old man, do you like Frank Coconate? Do you want him to come over to your birthday party this December?
At the Maroon Club?
Well, wherever it'll be. Would you say yes or no? I mean, would you say that this man would say yes or no? Would he want you at his birthday party, in your opinion? At his birthday party?
No.
Okay, so that goes along with
I wouldn't want to go anyway. I mean, I don't.
I thank you for that. The point I'm trying to build here is the 84-year-old. I don't think he likes you, and I'm pretty confident he doesn't like me either. And so I could see him not really liking the fact that Michael is associated with us. I could get that. What I think is a shame here is that a capable, well-to-do, and I have trouble saying it like that when we're talking about this particular person, but because of his financial status, for that purpose alone, I'll say this well-to-do individual who should owe so much, does owe so much to the Magnafichi family. I think it's a shame that there aren't other and better and more lucrative opportunities afforded to Michael than what this show is providing for him.
Right.
And I know that
I give Mike credit for trying to hustle and to get out there and try to do his own thing. He doesn't need them hounding him and trying to tell him what's right and wrong.
Frank, I can speak for myself and say that we're talking about sports.
Right.
And that's something I do on a regular basis.
Right.
I would have to say that probably 75% of my conversation is about sports.
Right.
The only time I'm not talking, the 25% of the time I'm not talking about is when I'm with my girl.
Right.
Because she doesn't want to hear about it. She's watching Friends or Seinfeld or something.
Right.
And even I could talk about
Honey
that.
Boo Boo.
Anything. So I don't, I'm not doing anything to harm anybody. I obviously I have an association with those fellas, and no ill will. I'm doing a sports program,
right?
And I'm hoping that this takes off from what we're doing here. I hope we're the next Mike and Mike, Frank and Mike,
right.
and Joe on 5 o'clock in the morning on ESPN2. That's what I'm hoping for, because that's what I want to do. I mean, that's how they started out, and why I don't think they know too much more than we know. They just got, a basket of information. They're doing the same things we're doing. They're taking, we're taking our own notes. They're getting it fed to them every day from somebody in the staff that's giving it to them. And they're going like this here. Okay, yeah, Griffey hit 2 home runs last night. Griffey's retired, obviously.
Right.
But, LeBron James sprained his knee. All that stuff. And that's all what I'm trying to accomplish here. I'm not trying to do anything in the world but talk about what I know about, which is sports.
And thank you for that. And I think it's equally as important for me to also put out there that the 84-year-old that we're referring to will remain nameless, especially as long as Frank doesn't slip up again with a first name.
Right.
But the last name certainly is not in the record. The 84-year-old, who I believe, based on conversations I've had with now late outfit guys, I believe that this man was an underboss for the outfit in the 1980s and 90s, and then rose to be the boss at some point. And I would believe that when the family secrets case when a couple of the murders that took place that were a part of that case, specifically with respect to the Spilatro brothers, in my educated opinion, and I have a big education in outfit activities and history, in my opinion, along with certain sourced information, it's very questionable why this 84-year-old was not indicted in that case. And I know that this 84-year-old has a history of doing things against the hierarchy of the organization, especially when a relative of his, and I won't explain who the relative, how he's related to the individual, that'll give too much of his identity, but a relative of his went missing in the early 1990s, and his boss at the time wanted to take some drastic measures, and he presented the now 84-year-old presented himself in a way that showed he was supportive of his boss's decision to take drastic measures against the missing relative. And I believe that the 84-year-old, the now 84-year-old, double-talked his boss. He agreed with him, and then he turned around and reached out for a relative of yours, Frank, to hide that missing relative.
Right.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. That's a sign right there that this now 84-year-old is not the kind of man, or I should say gangster, that a lot of people think he is. They think he's, a lot of people are fooled by his clever way of presenting himself. They're fooled by it.
Well, the person we hit was targeted for death.
Mm-hmm.
Targeted to get killed.
Well,
he was friends with the family.
Mm-hmm.
And we hit him per orders of this person.
This now 84-year-old.
Right.
Now, you see, Frank, most of the world should want to protect their relative from a murderous threat.
Family, right.
But we're not dealing with the average person here. We're talking about a man who decided he wanted to be a gangster and rose up the ladder. And when a person like that looks his boss, who is the boss of the organization at that time, and lies to him about something that serious, that's a big problem, and that's a sign right there that this guy is not a straight shooter. And people like Mr. Ricardo or the late Mr. Cerrone, Mr. Ayupa, if they had any inkling that someone of this now 84-year-old's caliber would be misleading on something so serious, they would have executed him. Now we fast forward to the Family Secrets trial. We've heard credible testimony from Mr. Calabrese, Nick Calabrese.
Right.
I should say testimony that was considered, he was a witness that was considered credible.
Right.
Because on his word, several people went to prison, more than one person or whatever. I've lost track of the numbers of people that were linked to his testimony. I don't know that offhand without looking it up, but his word was strong enough to put someone away in prison.
Right.
When this same man testified that someone else was there, it's the U.S. attorney put cotton balls in their ears, the judge did. No one wants to hear about it. And I don't understand, but based on what he did lying to his boss in the early 90s, couple that with his ability to remain unindicted, in my mind leaves only one conclusion, and that he sold out the outfit again, and saved himself. And I would bet if we could get an interview with Joe Lombardo in prison, and if we could ask Joe Lombardo, do you think that someone else should have been on this indictment? And because he was not on this indictment, do you think that he did something that a man of his caliber should not have done? I would think that Mr. Lombardo would say that he does feel that way, that this now 84-year-old man did something, betrayed his network of people. What are your thoughts on that, Frank?
Well, there's a lot of people are confused in the street, and since the Family Secrets trial supposedly put everybody away, supposedly, and they're confused why this gentleman's wasn't touched, wasn't even questioned.
Well, some people,
his name was mentioned in a transcript.
Some people say that there wasn't corroborating testimony. Like, for instance, one of the Spilatro kids testified that 20-something years ago she remembered she identified the voice being whoever it was that was indicted for supposedly killing her father, and that based on Nick Calabrese's testimony and the Spilatro girl's 20-something, 7-year-old recollection, or whatever, how many years it was at the time, recollection of this soundbite on a phone that lasted a few seconds, that was corroboration, and that's preposterous.
Right.
It's preposterous.
Right.
So if the government could rely on that stupid testimony from the Spilatro girl as the corroborating evidence, then they should be able to rely on the fact that the now 84-year-old was in a position of power in the outfit in 1986, and based on his position, he would have had to
You're alluding
be aware.
to one thing, a very important thing, a very important thing you're alluding to. This 84-year-old man is so entrenched with the politicians, and he's got many friends in the political arena, this 84-year-old man. Guys like Senator DeLeo, guys like Skip Saviano, Pete Silvestri, Pat O'Connor, the alderman, the floor leader of the city council. This man has ties all the way up to Washington. So when you say this 84-year-old man, blah, 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 he's got connections all over.
But what you're doing now, you're detracting from my point, but I appreciate what you're saying. My point is I'm basing the fact that this now 84-year-old was not indicted, I'm basing it on the fact that he has a history of deceiving his bosses, that he did something
I give him credit.
Bad.
Right, in the outfit world, it's a no-no.
That's what we're talking about.
This guy's a sharp guy.
He did something bad against his outfit brothers.
Yeah.
That's my suggestion. You're saying, I think I hear you saying that, no, he did nothing bad. He's a good guy. He just happened to know important people and stayed off the indictment. That's your angle.
No, I'm saying he utilized all his resources to stay out of jail.
Well,
like, if you read the book by Frank Calabrese, Operation Family Secrets.
Never read it.
Okay. He says in the book there were their rules. They had rules that the Cosa Nostra, but most people, they didn't even follow their own rules.
But he contradicts himself a lot. He's gone. I've heard numerous or read either articles or heard him on interviews say that I only know what my father did. I was with my father. I can't do anything. I don't know anything else. Well, his father's dead and is old news now, and the outfit is much larger than that one man.
I do understand what you're saying about this 84-year-old man, that there's rules to go by, and people have died over these rules. And he didn't obey the rules.
Didn't obey the rules, and I think that makes that challenges his credibility as a gangster. And I'm not on the gangster side here. I realize that the gangsters are bad people, they're criminals. I'm not defending it. I'm trying to understand it, and I'm trying to analyze it. From that standpoint, he has a history of deception among his network. And I think that the fact that he stayed out of the family secrets case is highly suspicious. And it would be,
To say the least.
to say the least, and he would be someone that if I were dealing with, if I were a criminal and dealing with him in criminal activities, I would be very cautious about my interactions with him. Very cautious. And based on the suspicious activity or behavior of this individual, I think that he's the last person that should be sharing negative comments about what Michael is doing here at A&P analyzing sports. I think he's the last person that should take issue with that.
It's very, very simple to rectify. So he knows what he should do and should have to do. And
well, I don't understand that, but that's your comment. And, well, if we could pull it back to the purpose of this show, which is sports, after that long-winded turn, did we cover everything we wanted to? We talked about hockey and basketball.
Yes.
We covered that, Michael?
Yes, we did.
yes,
We got our opinions. I'm going with the Hawks. He thinks the Bruins. I'm going with San Antonio. Frank likes
Miami.
He likes Miami. I think that I just think San Antonio's. I go with coaches. The coaches make great teams. Nobody gives coaches enough credit,
Right.
and I believe that Popovich is. He's a guy that he could bring them up. They should have won the other night. They got stolen away from them. They screwed it up. Don't get me wrong. They didn't get stolen from them. They didn't get it wasn't Reggie Miller, jumping back to the 3-point line and hitting 6 points in 3.2 seconds.
Yeah.
He didn't hit 2 3-point. That didn't happen to them. They let it go. They had a
the ball
5-point
away
lead
and everything else.
with
But we'll
28
see what
seconds.
happens. We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens tonight, and we'll be back on
Monday.
Monday.
We'll be back Monday, the 24th of June.
Sounds great.
So,
Okay.
Any last things? You look like you want to say something,
No,
Frank?
no.
Okay. All right.
Then we'll be back on Monday, and we'll have
see
a
what happened
final
over the
recap.
weekend.
We'll have the hockey is obviously not going to end in 2 games more. I mean, it could.
It could.
It could.
The Hawks fans are hoping for it.
Right. We know that. We
Or
know
both
that the
are hoping
basketball
for it.
that's going to be over tonight for sure. That's game 4 is tonight, Thursday night. So game 7. Excuse me. We'll know the final on that, and we'll have a comment about that, and we'll have some golf stuff to talk about, and some baseball. We'll get into the weekend baseball is better than talking about weekday baseball because it really doesn't matter till the weekend anyway.
Right.
Well, we wish everyone a good weekend. And
Yes.
all right. We'll see you next Monday.
Take care.
Take care, everybody.